On the third day, Vexithar was summoned to a formal meeting. This time the setting was different. They met in a grand hall with high ceilings and large windows that showed Earth below. The room was designed for important negotiations. Jiho was there along with Hana, but there were also two new faces. A woman in an expensive suit who carried herself with sharp confidence, and a man in a military uniform covered with medals. Ambassador Vexthar, Jiho said formally. Allow me to introduce Jiwan, our chief trade negotiator, and Junho, senior military advisor. We have much to discuss. They all sat at a round table. No one was at the head. Everyone was equal. Vexthar appreciated this small courtesy. Jiho began. You came to Earth 3 days ago with an ultimatum. You expected us to surrender. Instead, we've shown you our capabilities. We've shared our history. Now I want to offer you something different. Not surrender, partnership. Partnership, Vexthar repeated carefully. Jiwan leaned forward. She spoke quickly and precisely, like someone used to making deals. Let's talk honestly about resources. You came here because the Krillian Empire needs raw materials. Your 47 systems are running low on certain elements. Your population is growing. You need more planets, more asteroids, more space. Correct? Vexthar hesitated, then nodded. Our scouts identified Earth as rich in resources. We thought conquest would be simple. It would have been suicide, Jiwan said bluntly. But your need is real. We understand that. So here's our counter-proposal. Trade. We have mining operations across this solar system. We extract resources from asteroids, moons, and planets. We have more than we currently need. We'll sell you what you require at fair prices. Why would you help us? Vexthar asked suspiciously. Because trade is better than war, Jiwan replied. War destroys resources. Trade creates them. If we trade with you, both our civilizations benefit. You get the materials you need. We get access to your markets. Everyone wins, Junho spoke next. His voice was deep and measured. But that's not the main offer. The main offer is protection. He activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy. The Krillian Empire was highlighted in green. But there were 3 other areas highlighted in red. These are 3 civilizations we've been monitoring, Junho explained. This one, the Vrel Collective, has been mobilizing military forces near your border. This one, the Hakesh Sovereignty, has been conducting espionage in your territory. And this one, the Mordak Horde, is actively planning an invasion of your outer colonies. Vexithar stared at the map. How do you know this? We've been watching, Junho said simply. We have surveillance networks throughout this region of space. We see everything. The Vrel will attack within 6 months. The Hakesh are already embedded in your government. The Mordak will strike within a year. Your empire is facing threats from 3 directions and you don't even know it. Torval, who had been silent, spoke up. Why didn't you tell us? Because we weren't officially in contact, Junho replied. We have a policy of non-interference. We watch, but we don't interfere unless invited. You just invited us by declaring war. So now we can talk. Hana pulled up more data. The Vrel Collective alone has a fleet 3 times the size of yours. Better technology, too. Not as good as ours, but better than yours. If they attack, you'll lose at least 15 systems before you can mount an effective defense. Millions of casualties. You're trying to scare us, Vexthar said. We're trying to inform you, Hana corrected. You came here thinking you were the strongest power in the region. You're not. You're actually one of the weakest. You've survived this long because the stronger powers haven't noticed you yet. But that's changing, Jiho spoke again. His tone was gentler. Ambassador, we're offering you a choice. Join us in a mutual defense pact. We'll protect your empire from these threats. In return, you become part of a larger alliance. You trade with us. You share information with us. You help us maintain peace in this region. And if we refuse, Vexthar asked, then you're on your own, Jiho said sadly. We'll respect your decision. We won't interfere, but we also won't help. The Vrel will come. The Hakesh will sabotage you from within. The Mordak will burn your colonies, and we'll watch it happen because you chose not to be our partner. Jiwan added, we're not asking you to surrender. We're asking you to be smart. Your pride is hurt. We understand. You came here expecting easy conquest and found something much different. But putting aside pride to survive is not weakness. It's wisdom. Junho pulled up a new display. This one showed military simulations. If you accept our offer, we'll station a small defense fleet in your territory. Just 10 ships. That's all. 10 Earth ships to patrol your borders. The Vrel will see them and turn around. The Hakesh will abandon their sabotage. The Mordak will find easier targets. You'll be safe. 10 ships? Torval said. That's all? That's all we need, Hana said with a slight smile. Remember what we showed you? 1 destroyer, 90 seconds. 10 ships is generous. Vexthar sat back in his chair. His mind was racing. 3 days ago, he had been confident and powerful. Now he felt small and lost. Everything he thought he knew was wrong. What about the Galactic Tribunal? He asked. The other 47 systems we've conquered. What happens to them? That's up to you, Jiho said. We're not asking you to give them up. We're not demanding you change your government. We're simply offering protection and trade. What you do with your empire is your business. As long as you're not committing atrocities, we don't interfere. And if we are, Vexthar asked quietly, committing atrocities, then we have a problem, Junho said flatly. We've reviewed your history. You're not perfect, but you're not monsters. You follow rules of war. You treat prisoners decently. You don't genocide populations. If that changes, our offer is void. Jiwan brought up a contract on the holographic display. Here are the terms. Read them carefully. Take your time. Discuss with your fleet commanders. We're not rushing you. This is too important for hasty decisions. Vexthar began reading. The terms were fair. Almost too fair. Trade agreements at market rates, technology sharing programs, cultural exchanges, military cooperation. There were limits, of course. Earth wouldn't share their most advanced weapons. They wouldn't station more than 10 ships without permission. They wouldn't interfere in internal Krillian politics. But in return, the Krillian Empire would receive protection, resources, and access to human knowledge. It was an incredibly generous offer. Why? Vexthar asked again. Why are you being so kind to us? We threatened you. Jiho stood and walked to the window. He looked out at Earth, his home. Because we remember what it's like to be afraid. We remember being weak and vulnerable. We remember watching enemies approach and knowing we might die. We survived those times. We became strong. But we also became lonely. He turned back to face Vexthar. Humanity has no equals in this region of space. No rivals, no real friends. Everyone is either too weak to matter or too afraid to approach. We've been alone for decades, and that's not healthy for a species. We need partners. We need allies, not servants or subjects, equals. We're not your equals, Vexthar said bitterly. Not yet, Jiho agreed, but you could be. Given time and help, we'll share technology. We'll train your people. In 100 years, maybe less, the Krillian Empire could have ships that rival ours. We'd welcome that. Competition makes us better, Hana added. Plus, honestly, defending you is easy for us. 10 ships? That's nothing. A tiny fraction of our fleet. But for you, it's survival. The cost to us is minimal. The benefit to you is enormous. That's a good deal. Junho brought up one final display. It showed a timeline. If you accept, we'll begin immediately. First, we'll deal with the Hakesh agents in your government. We'll identify them and help you remove them quietly. Then we'll deploy ships to your borders before the Vrel arrive. Within 6 months, your empire will be secure. Within a year, trade will begin. Within 5 years, you'll have upgraded weapons and shields. Within a generation, you'll be a real power in the galaxy. And all we have to do is trust you, Vexthar said. Yes, Jiho said simply. That's all. The room was quiet for a long moment. Vexthar looked at his officers. Torval looked hopeful. The others looked uncertain but interested. I need to speak with my fleet commanders, Vexthar finally said, and with the tribunal. This is too big a decision for me alone. Of course, Jiho said. Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready. As the Krillian delegation prepared to leave, G1 stopped Vexthar with a hand on his arm. Ambassador, one more thing. You're going to have critics. People in your government who think this is a trap or a surrender. When they object, show them the data we gave you about the threats. Show them the simulations of what war with Earth would look like. Make them understand reality. And if they still refuse, Vexthar asked, then your civilization will probably fall within 2 years, Jiwan said matter-of-factly. Not because of us. Because of the Vrel and the Mordak and the Hakesh. We won't attack you for refusing our help. We'll just be sad about what happens next. Back on his flagship, Vexthar called a meeting of all senior commanders. He showed them everything. The weapons demonstrations, the history lessons, the threat assessments, the treaty offer. The room erupted in argument. Some called it surrender. Others called it survival. Either way, we'll respect your choice. But know this, Ambassador. The next day, Vexthar received another invitation. This time it came from Una, the linguistics officer. The message was simple and personal. Ambassador, I believe you are trying to understand us. Understanding requires more than seeing weapons. It requires seeing history. Would you like to learn why we are the way we are? No demonstrations. No weapons, just truth. Vexthar accepted. He was tired of being afraid. He needed answers. They met in a different building this time. It was a museum, filled with artifacts and displays. Una was waiting at the entrance along with two other humans. One was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes. Her name was Yunji, and she was a historian. The other was a man in his 40s with a weathered face. His name was Seo Jun, and he represented the asteroid belt colonies. Thank you for coming, Yunji said warmly. I've spent my life studying human warfare. I want to share that knowledge with you, not to frighten you but to help you understand. They walked through halls filled with strange objects: swords, guns, tanks, aircraft, missiles. Each one was labeled with dates and descriptions. Some were thousands of years old, others were recent. Humans have been killing each other since before we had language, Yunji began. We have evidence of murder from 2 million years ago. Stone weapons embedded in ancient skulls. We've never known true peace. Even in our quietest periods somewhere on Earth, humans were fighting. She led them to a large display. It showed a timeline of human history, marked with red lines. There were so many red lines that the timeline looked like it was bleeding. Each red line is a major war, Yunji explained. This is just the last 3,000 years. Before that, we didn't keep good records, but the fighting was constant. We fought over land, over resources, over ideas, over religion, over pride. We fought because we were different. We fought because we were the same. We always found reasons. Torval studied the timeline. How many wars? In recorded history, thousands, maybe tens of thousands, depending on how you count. There has not been a single day in the last 5,000 years when humans were not at war somewhere on the planet. Vexthar felt sick. Why? Because we had to, Yunji said simply. Earth is not a kind world. It's beautiful, yes, but deadly. Ice ages that lasted millennia. Droughts that turned fertile land into desert. Volcanoes. Earthquakes. Floods. Predators. Diseases. We survived by being tougher than everything else. And when we ran out of other threats, we became threats to each other. They moved to another display. This one showed weapons from something called World War I. Yunji explained that it lasted 4 years and killed 17 million people. This was considered a normal war, she said. Not particularly special, just humans being humans. But look at the technology. Machine guns that fired 600 bullets per minute. Artillery shells that could destroy buildings. Poison gas. Tanks. We invented new ways to kill each other faster and in greater numbers. But you stopped. Vexthar said hopefully. You learned peace. No, Sojun said. He had been quiet until now. We didn't learn peace. We learned bigger wars. He pointed to the next display. World War II. It lasted 6 years, 70 to 85 million deaths. Cities turned to ash, weapons that split atoms and released the power of stars. We ended that war by dropping 2 nuclear bombs on cities, Seojin continued. Hundreds of thousands of people died in seconds. Burned to ash, vaporized, gone. And you know what happened next? We built more bombs. Bigger bombs. By the mid-1900s, we had enough nuclear weapons to destroy all life on Earth 10 times over. Why didn't you? Torval asked. Because we were afraid, Yunji said. Finally, after millions of years, we found something we feared more than each other. Extinction. So we stepped back from the edge. But we didn't stop fighting. We just got smarter about it. Una took over the tour. She led them to a room filled with screens and computers. This is the interesting part. When we couldn't fight with nuclear weapons anymore, we started fighting in other ways. Economic wars, cyber wars, proxy wars. We fought through espionage and sabotage. We never stopped competing. We just changed the rules. She pulled up images of Earth from space. In the 21st century, we finally started to unify. Not because we wanted peace, but because we found something better to fight. Space itself. We looked at the stars and realized there might be other civilizations out there. Other species. Maybe hostile. We decided we should be ready. So you built your weapons, Vexthar said. We upgraded our weapons, Yuna corrected. Everything we showed you yesterday? That's 300 years of military research. We took the same energy we used to destroy each other and focused it outward. We prepared for threats that might never come. We became paranoid and militaristic, and it became part of our culture. Seojun brought up a video. It showed 2 human spacecraft fighting in the asteroid belt. They moved at incredible speeds, firing weapons that looked like the ones Vexthar had seen on Mars. The battle was fierce and brutal. This was 15 years ago, Seojun said. 2 mining corporations had a dispute over asteroid rights. It turned into a small war. 3 ships on each side. The fight lasted 2 days. When it was over, all 6 ships were destroyed. 73 people died. That's terrible, Torvald said. That's the point, Seojun replied. This wasn't even a military conflict. This was a corporate dispute, a business problem, and it had more firepower than your entire invasion fleet. Do you understand? Our criminals have access to weapons that could destroy your empire. Yunji sat down at a table and gestured for the Krillians to join her. I want to tell you about a concept in human culture. We call it mutually assured destruction. During the Cold War, 2 human nations had so many nuclear weapons that if one attacked, both would be destroyed. Everyone would die, so they didn't attack. They threatened. They postured. They competed. But they didn't launch the missiles because they knew it would be suicide. She looked directly at Vexthar. That's what you almost did yesterday. You declared war on a species that has weapons capable of destroying planets, not because we're evil, but because we've spent our entire existence preparing for threats. You would have died. All of you. And we would have felt terrible about it because it would have been so unfair. Yuna pulled up another screen. This one showed data about the Krillian Empire's conquests. We've been monitoring your expansion for 40 years. We've watched you conquer 47 systems. Do you know how many casualties you've suffered in total? Approximately 15,000, Vexthar said. Over 80 years of conquest. In 1863, Earth had a battle called Gettysburg, Yuna said. It lasted 3 days. 51,000 casualties. 3 days, Ambassador. Your entire military history has fewer casualties than one of our ancient battles, and Gettysburg wasn't even our bloodiest. She brought up more data. Your tactics are efficient. You show up, demonstrate superior firepower, and wait for surrender. You minimize deaths. You follow rules of engagement. You're civilized warriors. Thank you, Vexthar said, unsure if it was a compliment. It's why you'll lose, Yuna said bluntly. Humans don't follow those rules. We can't, it's not in us. If you attack, we won't show you superior firepower and wait for surrender. We'll overwhelm you immediately with everything we have because that's how we survived. Maximum force. Total commitment. No half measures. Yunji stood up and walked to a window. Outside, the city continued its normal life. People walking. Cars driving. Children playing. We hide what we are very well. We've built a peaceful society. We have art and music and philosophy. We're not monsters. But underneath all of that, we're still the same species that fought for millions of years. We're still capable of incredible violence if threatened. Seojun joined her at the window. I was born on Ceres in the Belt. I've never been to Earth, but I learned Earth's history. Every human does. We learn about the wars, the mistakes, the horror of what we're capable of. We learn it so we never forget, so we stay vigilant. He turned to face the Krillians. You know what the most popular entertainment on Earth is? Simulated warfare. Video games where people pretend to fight wars. Millions of humans in their free time practice tactics and strategy. For fun. We've turned killing into recreation. Torvald looked disturbed. That's sick, maybe, Seojun agreed. But it keeps us sharp. It keeps us thinking like warriors even when we're at peace. And it means that when real danger comes, we're ready. Yunji returned to the table. Ambassador, I've shown you these things not to make you hate us or fear us. I've shown you so you'll understand our offer. Humanity doesn't want to conquer the galaxy. We've conquered enough. We've fought enough. We're tired of it, but we're also too dangerous to let threats stand unanswered. What offer? Vexthar asked. The one Secretary General Jiho is going to make to you tomorrow, Yunji said with a small smile. I wanted you to understand our history first so you'd know the offer is genuine. We're not trying to trick you. We're trying to save you. From yourselves and from others. Yuna walked them to the exit. Before they left, she said one more thing. Ambassador, in all of human history, the most dangerous thing has never been our weapons. It's been our inability to give up. We're stubborn. We don't surrender. Even when we should. Even when it's smart. That's why we survived when others spee. 3 hours after the meeting, Vexithar received an unexpected message. It was from Secretary General Jiho, and it was an invitation. Ambassador, the message read, I understand you may doubt what we told you. Words are easy. Evidence is harder. If you wish, we are conducting a routine military exercise near Mars today. You and your officers are welcome to observe. This may help you make an informed decision. The choice is yours. Vexthar discussed it with his commanders. They were divided. Some said it was a trap. Others said they needed to see the truth with their own eyes. In the end, Vexthar decided to go. If the humans wanted them dead, they could have killed them already. The Krillian shuttle approached Mars 6 hours later. Vexthar had never seen the red planet before. It looked dead and cold. But as they got closer, he saw something that made his blood run cold for a different reason. Mars had cities. Domed cities scattered across the surface, connected by tubes. Orbital platforms surrounded the planet like a ring of steel. And between the planet and the approaching shuttle, there were ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. They moved in perfect formations like schools of fish made of metal and light. This is just Mars? Torval whispered. One planet? A human voice came over the communication system. It was friendly and professional. Krillian shuttle, this is Mars traffic control. Please follow the designated path to Observation Platform 7. Welcome to Mars. The shuttle was guided to a small station floating in space. Inside, they found a comfortable viewing room with large windows. Jiho was already there, along with Hana and several other humans in military uniforms. Thank you for coming, Jiho said. He gestured to the windows. What you're about to see is a standard monthly exercise. We do this to keep our crew sharp. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. A man in a pilot's uniform stepped forward. He was young, maybe 30 years old, with a confident smile. My name is Dehan. I'm a test pilot. I'll be demonstrating some basic maneuvers today. Basic? Vexthar asked. Training level stuff, Dehan confirmed. Nothing fancy. Through the window, they watched as a small fighter craft undocked from a nearby ship. It was sleek and silver, about the size of a Krillian shuttle, and it moved with impossible grace. That's our newest trainer, Dehan explained through the speakers. We use these to teach fresh pilots. Now watch this, the fighter accelerated. One moment it was drifting slowly. The next moment it was gone. Vexthar blinked. The craft had simply vanished. Where did it? He started to say. The fighter reappeared behind a distant asteroid. Then it vanished again, and reappeared somewhere else. It was teleporting, jumping through space like it was stepping through doors. Phase drive, Hana explained. The ship briefly shifts into an alternate dimension, then back into normal space at a different location. Useful for dodging incoming fire. That's impossible, Torval said. It was, Hana agreed. We made it possible. Another human joined them at the window. She was middle-aged with sharp eyes and a commander's bearing. Her name was Sora, and she was in charge of the Mars defense perimeter. We'll be testing the planetary shield next, Sora said casually. It's been 3 months since the last test. Want to make sure it still works. She pressed a button on her tablet. Outside, something changed. The air around Mars began to shimmer. A barely visible dome of energy formed around the entire planet. It grew from the surface outward, expanding until it covered everything. The cities, the orbital platforms, all of it. That's covering the whole planet, Vexthar said. His voice was hollow. Just one of the generators, Sora said. We have 6. Redundancy is important. If one fails, the others take over. The shield can absorb enough energy to stop a supernova. Probably. We haven't had a chance to test that yet. Torval made a choking sound. Another man approached. He was older, wearing an engineer's uniform. His name was Minho, and he carried himself with the calm confidence of someone who had seen everything. We're going to demonstrate some of the older defensive systems now, Minho said. These weapons are about a century old. We don't use them much anymore, but they're still functional. Good for training purposes. He pointed to a large structure floating in space. It looked like a long tube with several rings around it. That's a railgun. Mark 7 model. We built thousands of these in the early 2100s. Now we mostly keep them as backup systems. An asteroid drifted into view. It was massive, easily the size of Vexthar's flagship. Mino pressed a button. The railgun fired. There was no sound in space, but Vexithar imagined he heard thunder. A projectile no larger than a fist shot from the railgun at incredible speed. It hit the asteroid in the center. The asteroid didn't break. It didn't shatter. It simply ceased to exist. The kinetic energy was so enormous that the rock was instantly converted to plasma and dust. A cloud of glowing particles was all that remained. 0.3% light speed, Minho said cheerfully. Like I said, old technology. Our current magnetic accelerators can reach 2% light speed. Much more efficient. Vexthar couldn't speak. That asteroid had been the size of his flagship. The weapon that destroyed it was considered outdated. Now for the main event, Hana said. She was smiling, but it wasn't a cruel smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a good surprise was coming. In the distance, space began to ripple. It looked like heat waves on a desert road. The rippling grew more intense, and then suddenly a ship emerged from nothing. It was enormous, 10 times the size of Vexthar's flagship. Its hull was dark gray, covered in weapons and sensor arrays. It looked like a predator. Like Death given form, that's the EDS Indomitable, Hana said. A destroyer. Not our biggest class of ship, but a good all-purpose vessel. The captain is a woman named Nari. She's one of our best. The destroyer hung in space, silent and still. But Vexthar could feel its power. The energy readings were off his scanner's charts. Notice how it appeared, Hana continued. That's a quantum fold drive. The ship travels through compressed space-time. It's faster than your ships, yes. But more importantly, it's unpredictable. You can't track it. You can't anticipate where it will emerge. In a battle, a single destroyer could appear behind your entire fleet without warning. How many destroyers do you have? Vexthar asked. He had to know. 2,341, Hana replied. Plus the ones in construction. We should have another 100 by next year. Torval sat down heavily in a chair. And the bigger classes? We have carriers, dreadnoughts, and titans, Hana said. The titans are 5 miles long. We only have 12 of them. They're expensive to build and maintain. Each one carries enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Why? Vexthar asked. Why would you need such weapons? Jiho answered. Because humanity learned a hard lesson a long time ago. If you want peace, you must be ready for war. If you're weak, someone will hurt you. If you're strong, you can choose mercy instead of having mercy forced upon you. Sora's voice came over the speakers. We're going to run one more demonstration. This one is important. Please watch carefully. Outside, the destroyer turned to face the Krillian fleet, which was waiting several thousand miles away. Vexthar felt panic rising in his throat. You said, he started. Relax, Hana interrupted. We're not attacking. We're showing you what an attack would look like. Computer simulation only. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the Krillian fleet from above. All 512 ships arranged in their defensive formation. This is your fleet, Hana said. This is how you're positioned. Now if we were to engage, here's what would happen. The simulation began. The destroyer didn't move from its position. Instead, hundreds of small dots left the ship. Missiles. They accelerated to incredible speeds and curved through space on impossible trajectories. In the simulation, the missiles reached the Krillian fleet in 30 seconds. They didn't explode. They simply touched the shields of the ships and passed through as if the shields weren't there. Then they detonated inside the hulls. Ship after ship in the simulation turned red, indicating destruction. It took 45 seconds. The entire Krillian fleet eliminated in less than a minute by a single destroyer that never moved from its position. That's assuming we wanted to destroy you, Hana said quietly. If we wanted to capture your ships instead, it would take about 3 minutes. We'd use electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable your systems, then boarding drones to secure each vessel. Vexthar stared at the simulation. His entire career had been built on the strength of that fleet. He had conquered 47 systems with those ships. He had believed, truly believed, that he commanded the most powerful military force in the galaxy. He had been wrong. I've seen enough, he said. His voice cracked. Please. I've seen enough. Jiho nodded to Hana, who closed the simulation. The view returned to normal space, where the real destroyer waited peacefully in the distance. We didn't show you this to be cruel, Jiho said gently. We showed you this so you would understand. So you could make the right choice. Not for us. For your people. Vexthar looked at the Secretary General. The human's eyes were sad. He really hadn't wanted this. He had hoped the Krillians would listen to words alone. What now? Vexthar asked. Now you go back to your fleet, Jiho said. You tell them what you saw. You make your decision. Attack or leave in peace. Aboard the Krillian flagship, Vexthar stared at the screen where the human's face had been. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep confusion among his species. Around him, his officers whispered to each other in worried tones. They should be terrified, Vexthar said. We showed them our fleet. We made our demands clear. Why did that human sound like he was trying to help us? His second officer, a younger Krillian named Torval, shifted nervously. Perhaps it is a trick, Ambassador. A delay tactic while they prepare their defenses. Defenses, Vexthar repeated. He looked at the planet below. It was beautiful with blue oceans and white clouds. It looked peaceful. What defenses could they possibly have? Our scouts reported only basic nuclear weapons. Primitive rockets. They still use wheels on their vehicles. But something nagged at him. The human's last words echoed in his mind. You should be afraid. Not we are afraid. The human had not begged, had not threatened. He had warned. Like someone trying to stop a child from touching a hot surface. Vexthar made a decision. Prepare a shuttle. We will accept their invitation, but keep the fleet on high alert. If this is a trap, we destroy their capital city. 2 hours later, in a secure conference room deep under the UN building, the meeting began. Vexthar and 3 of his officers sat on one side of a long table. On the other side sat Jiho, Hana, Taeyang, and Yuna. The room was plain. White walls, simple furniture. Nothing that looked like a military installation. This confused Vexthar. Where were the armed guards? The weapons? The display of power? Thank you for coming, Jiho said. He sounded genuinely grateful. I want to be very clear with you, Ambassador. We do not want conflict. We have no wish to harm you or your people, but I need you to understand something important before this goes any further. We are the ones making demands, Vexthar said stiffly, not you. I understand you think that, Jiho replied. That's the misunderstanding I need to correct. May I show you something? He nodded to Taeyang. The scientist stood and tapped his tablet. The lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared in the center of the table. It showed the Krillian fleet in orbit. This is your flagship, Taeyang said, highlighting one of the larger ships. Beautiful design. Very intimidating. According to our scans, it generates approximately 4.2 petawatts of power at full output. Your plasma cannons can fire every 3 seconds. Your shields can absorb roughly 6 exajoules before failing. Very impressive. Vexthar felt a surge of pride. You see? You understand our superiority. Actually, Taeyang said gently, I'm explaining our problem. Your flagship produces less power than this building. The UN headquarters has a zero-point energy generator in the basement that produces 12 petawatts continuously. We use it for heating, cooling, and lighting. The Krillian officers looked at each other. Torval spoke up. That's impossible. Zero-point energy is theoretical. It was theoretical, Taeyang corrected. We solved it in 2091. It's been standard technology for almost a century now. Hana leaned forward. Ambassador, how fast can your ships travel? 50 times light speed, Vexthar said proudly. The fastest in the known galaxy. The known galaxy you come from, Hana said. Our slowest cargo vessels travel at 800 times light speed. Our military ships can reach speeds of over 3,000 times light speed. We've had this capability for 60 years. Vexthar's skin flushed a darker gray. You're lying. Trying to frighten us. Yuna spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft but firm. Ambassador, we've analyzed your language broadcasts. We've studied your culture through your transmissions. You seem like an honorable people. You have rules of war. You believe in fair conquest, so I need to ask you directly. In your 47 conquered systems, what was the average battle duration? Anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks, Vexthar answered. Depending on resistance and casualties, usually minimal. Most species surrender once they see our power. Yuna tapped her tablet. We have records of every conflict in human history. In the year 1944, during what we call World War II, humans fought a single battle called D-Day. Over 150,000 soldiers landed on a beach. 10,000 died in a single day. That was one battle in a war that lasted 6 years and killed 70 million people. Barbaric, Torval whispered. Yes, Yuna agreed. It was. But do you understand what I'm telling you? One of our wars, fought with primitive technology from centuries ago, had more casualties than your entire empire's history of conquest. We didn't stop fighting because we learned peace. We stopped fighting each other because we ran out of worthy opponents. The room was very quiet. Taeyang brought up another hologram. This one showed a small craft, sleek and angular. This is a standard Earth patrol ship. It's used for police work in the asteroid belt. Not military. Police work. Let me show you what it can do. He played a recording. The small ship flew toward an asteroid the size of a building. Without slowing down, it fired a single shot. The asteroid didn't just break apart. It vaporized. One moment it was there. The next moment it was dust. Railgun, Taeyang explained. Fires a projectile at 0.3% light speed. The kinetic energy alone is enough to destroy any target. That was our police ship. Our military vessels carry weapons that make that look like a toy. Vexthar felt something he had not felt in many years. It was cold and hollow and sat in his stomach like a stone. It was fear. You're trying to intimidate us, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Jiho shook his head. No, Ambassador. We're trying to save your life and the lives of everyone in your fleet. Hana stood up and walked to the window. Through the thick glass, they could see the sky. Right now, you have 512 ships in orbit. You think that's an impressive fleet. From your perspective, it is. But we have 47,000 combat vessels. If you give the order to attack, we will defend ourselves. And your entire fleet will be destroyed in approximately 90 seconds. 90 seconds, Vexithar repeated numbly. That's our estimate, Hana said. It might take longer. We'd try to disable your ships instead of destroying them, to minimize casualties. But Ambassador, you need to understand. This won't be a battle. It will be a slaughter. Your people will die for nothing. Because you didn't know. Because no one told you what humanity is. Taeyang sat down again. We've been monitoring galactic transmissions for 40 years. We know about the tribunal. We know about the 47 systems you've conquered. We've watched you expand, and we've stayed quiet. Do you know why? Vexthar couldn't speak. He shook his head. Because we were waiting, Taeyang said. Waiting for the galaxy to reach a point where they could handle knowing about us. We're not like the other species you've met. We didn't evolve on a peaceful world. Earth was a nightmare. Natural disasters, predators, diseases, ice ages. We survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on our planet. Then we turned that danger on each other for 10,000 years. Yuna pulled up a graph. This shows the military budget of Earth over the last 2 centuries. Even during our longest period of peace, we spent more on weapons research than most civilizations spend on their entire economies. Not because we're evil, but because for us being unprepared means death. It's in our DNA. Jiho leaned back in his chair. Ambassador, I need you to make a choice. You can order your fleet to attack. We will defend ourselves. Your people will die. Your empire will lose its entire military force. And for what? Pride, dignity? Or, he continued, you can accept that you made a mistake. An understandable mistake. You didn't know what we were. How could you? We've been hiding, but now you do know. And you can take that knowledge back to your tribunal. You can tell them about Earth, you can warn them, and maybe, just maybe, we can find a better way forward. Vexthar looked at his officers. Torval looked scared. The other 2 looked sick. They had all realized the same truth. They had not come to conquer Earth. They had come to their own funeral. If we leave, Vexthar said slowly. If we simply return to our space, will you let us go? Of course, Jiho said immediately. You've done nothing wrong yet. Making threats is not a crime. We understand you are acting on incomplete information. There will be no punishment. No retaliation. You came in peace even if your words were harsh. You can leave in peace. Vexthar stood up. His legs felt weak. I need time to think. To consult with my fleet commanders. Take all the time you need, Jiho said. But Ambassador, please do one thing for me. Before you make any decisions, look at our history. Really look at it. Understand what you're dealing with. Because I want you to survive this. I want your people to survive. But if you attack us, I cannot stop what will happen next. The Krillian delegation left the room in silence. As they walked back to their shuttle, Torval whispered to Vexthar, What do we do? Vexthar looked up at the sky where his mighty fleet waited. His fleet that he had been so proud of. His fleet that was apparently obsolete. We learn, he said quietly. We learn and we pray we haven't awakened something better left sleeping. The massive alien ship appeared above Earth without warning. It was dark purple and covered in strange symbols that glowed with a sickly green light. The ship was 3 miles long, shaped like a twisted blade, and it hung in the sky over New York City like a storm cloud that refused to move. Inside the United Nations building, alarms were screaming. Security personnel ran through hallways. Diplomats grabbed their phones. News networks interrupted their programs. Within minutes, every screen on Earth showed the same image, the alien warship blocking out the sun. Then the broadcast began. A face appeared on every television, every computer, every phone. It was not human. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, skin like gray leather and a mouth full of needle-like teeth. When it spoke, the words were translated automatically into every language on Earth. People of Earth, the alien said. Its voice was deep and filled with confidence. I am Ambassador Vexthar of the Krillian Empire. We represent the Galactic Tribunal, the governing body of 47 conquered star systems. Your planet has been chosen for absorption into our empire. In the UN Emergency Response Room, Jiho watched the screen with his arms crossed. He was the Secretary General, a man who had seen many crises in his career. He was 53 years old with gray hair and calm eyes. Around him, other leaders were shouting into phones and typing frantically on computers. Vexthar continued his speech. We have studied your world. We know you are a primitive species. You have barely left your own solar system. You fight among yourselves. You waste your resources. This ends now. Behind Vexthar, the video showed more ships. Hundreds of them. They filled the darkness of space like a swarm of insects. Each one bristled with weapons. Cannons lined their hulls. Energy shields glowed around them in protective bubbles. We possess plasma cannons that can burn your cities to ash, Vexthar said. We have photon shields that cannot be penetrated by your primitive weapons. Our ships travel at 50 times the speed of light. We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. Jiho noticed something odd. His mouth twitched. Was he trying not to smile? You have 48 hours to surrender, Vexthar declared. Lay down all weapons. Prepare your resources for harvest. Accept our leadership. If you resist, we will demonstrate our power. We will destroy one of your major cities as a lesson. Then we will ask again. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact. The screen went black. For a moment, the emergency room was silent. Then someone laughed. It was a short, surprised sound. Then another person laughed. Then another. Jiho turned to the woman standing beside him. Her name was Hana, and she was the chief military strategist for the entire Earth Defense Force. She was younger than Jiho, only 40 years old with sharp eyes and a reputation for brutal honesty. Did he say plasma cannons? Hana asked. He did, Jiho replied. And photon shields? Yes. Hana pulled out her tablet and started typing. We stopped using those in 2105. They're in museums now. Across the room, a man with glasses was already working at a computer. His name was Taiyang, and he was the head scientist at the Global Research Institute. He looked like he might be sick from trying not to laugh. Sir, Taiyang called out, I've analyzed the energy signatures from their ships. They're using fusion reactors. Fusion. We switched to zero-point energy generators 80 years ago. Another voice spoke up. It belonged to Yuna, a linguistics officer who specialized in first contact scenarios. She was young, only 28, but she was the best at what she did. I've been reviewing their language patterns. They keep using terms like unstoppable and supreme technology. I think they actually believe this. Jiho walked to the center of the room. Everyone turned to look at him. He was not smiling anymore, but his eyes were bright with something that might have been amusement. Let me make sure I understand, he said slowly. These aliens have threatened Earth with technology we haven't used since my father was young. They travel at speeds our cargo ships exceeded decades ago. They have conquered 47 systems with weapons that wouldn't scratch our planetary defense satellites. That's correct. Sir, Hana confirmed, and they gave us 48 hours to surrender. Yes, sir. Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then he did smile. It was a small, sad smile. They have no idea, do they? They don't know what we are. What we've built. What we're capable of. Taeyang stood up from his computer. Sir, I've done a full comparison. Their most advanced warship has less firepower than a standard Earth police cruiser. Their flagship generates less power than the reactor in my research lab. How many ships did they show in the broadcast? Jiho asked. 512, someone answered. And how many ships do we have in active service? Hana answered without checking her notes. 47,000 combat vessels, another 100,000 support ships, 300 orbital defense platforms, 16 lunar bases, the Mars defense grid, the Jupiter fleet, and that's just the public military. If we count the research division's experimental craft, no need, Jiho interrupted. I understand. He walked to the window. Outside, he could see the alien ship hovering over the city. People on the streets were pointing at it. Some were taking pictures. Others were running. But most were just standing and staring. We need to handle this carefully, Jiho said. These aliens made a mistake. A terrible, dangerous mistake, but it was an honest mistake. They didn't know. If we respond with full force, we'll slaughter them. It won't even be a battle. It will be an execution. What do you suggest, sir? Hana asked. Jiho turned back to face the room. We show them gently. We demonstrate the truth in a way that they can survive and learn from. We give them a chance to walk away. Because if we don't, he paused. If we don't and they attack anyway, the galaxy will lose an entire species in about 90 seconds. Hana nodded slowly. You want to let them down easy. I want to prevent a massacre, Jiho corrected. Their massacre. They came here expecting to intimidate primitives. Instead, they just declared war on the most militarily advanced species in the known galaxy. We have to make them understand that before they do something that can't be undone. Yuna spoke up again. Sir, they're hailing us. They want a response to their ultimatum. Jiho straightened his jacket. Open a channel. All frequencies. I want every ship in their fleet to hear this. The screens came to life again. This time it was Jiho's face that appeared. He looked calm and professional. When he spoke, his voice was steady. Ambassador Vexthar, this is Secretary General Jiho of Earth. We have received your message. We would like to invite you and your senior officers to a diplomatic meeting. We have much to discuss. I believe there has been a significant misunderstanding about our capabilities. For your safety and ours, I strongly recommend you accept this invitation before taking any hostile action. He paused, then added, Please trust me when I say this. You do not want to start this war, not because we are afraid, but because you should be. The transmission ended. Around the room, people began to move again. Phones rang. Orders were given. Plans were made. But everyone wore the same expression. It was not fear. It was not excitement. It was pity. They pitied the aliens who had made such a catastrophic mistake. They pitied warriors who had accidentally picked a fight with a species that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare. And they hoped desperately that the aliens would be smart enough to listen.